All right, welcome back. I want to get back to the story about the university presidents. The president at the University of Pennsylvania resigned over the weekend, but the fallout from the testimony from these various presidents about anti-Semitism on college campuses continues today. We're joined by Mitch Daniels now, president emeritus at Purdue University. He's a former governor of the state of Indiana, a senior advisor to the Liberty Fund these days. Governor, good to see you. And I just wonder whether you think the way this was handled, generally speaking, by these three university presidents, essentially not giving a straight answer to a pretty straightforward question about whether calling for the genocide of Jews would be something that they, would have a punishment for. Is this a fireable offense in this way? How do you view it as a former university president?
It's up to their boards of trustees to determine what's fireable and what's not. What it was for sure was a revealing moment, revealing for the American public to see the sad moral confusion of too many people in high places in higher ed. Sad because it reflects the enforced conformity of thought on so many of those campuses. And, we have to hope that the reaction to this will cause not just here and there a personnel decision, but a fundamental rethink by those responsible for these institutions. This really should be at higher ed's Bud Light moment, when if it wasn't clear before, it becomes apparent finally to them inside their groupthink bubbles that there's a world of people out there who have a very different view than theirs.
You wrote about some of this in the Washington Post, and I'll put part of that up there just to continue our conversation. The headline of your piece was how October 7th revealed the moral vacuity of U.S. higher education. And the quote that we have is, to see so many such institutions of higher education wallowing in moral confusion and hypocrisy is cause for dejection at how far the sector has fallen, how little many young Americans know of essential history once so immediate and universally understood. That gets to the point you were making, I suppose, about groupthink. So pick up on this a little bit more if you can.
I think one thing that bears noting is that I'm inclined to be slightly charitable to the younger people involved, mainly because of their own ignorance. They've been mistaught or poorly taught history. We know they don't understand principles of freedom in this country very well at all. They have no conception, it turns out, of the facts on past and present in the Middle East. Some survey work was done. Chanting about a river. They don't know what river they're talking about. When they were shown maps of Israel, surrounded as it is by states who have been sworn to its destruction for decades, they didn't know that. So, hopefully, here too, they'll have, as I say, a Bud Light moment in which some of them reflect that maybe there are things they misunderstood or didn't know. But the phrase "moral vacuity" actually was the headline writers at the Post, but I think it's a pretty good one. The moral confusion that leads to an equivalence between atrocities and self-defense is one that you would hope that those who would educate our young people wouldn't be prey to.
I wonder what you would say to people who just say that this is actually in and of itself an issue of free speech, and that maybe you, Governor Daniels, disagree with how these folks see the world, and you're coming down on their free speech. The reason I bring that up, or one of the reasons, that the Harvard president, Claudine Gay, today is under a lot of pressure. Maybe, I don't know how it ends up with her, but many of her fellow members of the Harvard faculty have come to her defense, several hundred of them voicing support for her, over 600, and they just say basically that, this hearing was deeply politicized. It's clearly part of a strategy to discredit institutions of higher education. So they're basically saying, oh, this is all politics, and you say?
Well, hundreds did, but hundreds or thousands didn't. I don't know the denominator that we're using here, but it's not surprising that people who see the world as she does would come to her defense, and it's their right to do that. Let's be clear. Purdue University, for instance, has always had the highest ratings possible for free speech. We do believe that the university is a forum, not a speaker itself, but a forum for views of all kinds. Doesn't mean that one can't condemn speech in the strongest terms, speech that is racist, or in this case, speech that plainly is both racist and hate-filled in its defense of atrocity.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.